But then past that, it can do anything. You can do anything you want.
So now,
Yeah.
if you compare I mean, a strategy game has micro strategy, positioning, map control, map awareness, and stuff. Where do you see Supreme Command in contrast to StarCraft?
It's just everything is 10 times as complex. And I mean, honestly, like, I think at some point you're gonna have maybe AIs who can play StarCraft 2 almost perfectly or perfectly. I don't think an AI is like it's gonna. I could literally utilize 5,000 APM in Supreme Commander and wouldn't be spamming. Like if I would have 5,000 APM and I still wouldn't play the optimal game, I still wouldn't micro every single unit and still not dodge every single shot. In StarCraft 2, I think if you have 500 APM, you're gonna get some point where of course, you could still like gain 0.01% of like an advantage having like some more APM than 500 or something. But Supreme Commander just doesn't have limits. It's like a sandbox RTS where anything is possible and there's like nothing you couldn't do, but it's just humanly impossible to actually get to that point.
Hello and welcome to Certus Major. It's a ranked game between BC Napalm and Matt Stork. Napalm going as Aeon. I hope he sticks with Aeon. Great to have another good Aeon player in the mix. He is, however, taking on a player who always plays Cybern. Stork, I had a pleasure of playing him on this exact map and versus Cybern after about 45 minutes. The bricks prevailed. He beat me. I think it was still an exciting game. Did manage to steal a bit of Cybern for myself, but it wasn't enough. And Spider at the end there got me. But of course, Napalm also in the finals against ADSI this week for U2000s. Hopefully somebody casts that so people can see if you can finally beat him. They did have a bit of a rivalry, and I think ADSI had the better of it, but let's see what happens this week. Napalm looks like he's going to go after the Hydra, which is always a good idea. It's nice to see 2 Pigeons, then Hydra. It's going to be a total of 160 power that he's going to have. 160 power is enough to run an air factory and a land factory at the same time. But don't forget, you need about 30 power per engineer that's out in the field making mass extractors and just a row of power generators. Certus, of course, a map that has a whole bunch of mass. One important chunk is, of course, in the middle. But it's about 3,000 reclaim in the middle, plus a bunch of other wrecks, but definitely worth to get it. But besides that, there's also a whole bunch of little rocks that you can get. You can really supplement your early builds with, of course, the first 8 mass extractors already taken by both players. Although Stork, not really sure why it's only a +7. Perhaps Stork may have had some power issues there for a second. In terms of early rating, we do see Hunters for Stork coming out and Flares for Napalm. Never want to neglect that. And second air from Napalm together with some Flares, that always is a good combination. Stork on second land, this is something that's really nice to do on Certus, which is of course a layered map. Instead of walking around, get your commander to build. Of course, first you got to give a move order and then build the factory. If you just give order to build the factory, it will try to get in a position where it's close, which means it'll do a lot of walking. And in terms of rating, we got a group of 2 Flares and a Scout on the bottom for Napalm, while Stork is just going really wide. 2 Hunters and 2 Scouts. Scout is lagging behind a bit, and actually the Scout is just an assist. Let's see if it can, yeah, it looks should be an easy victory for Napalm. But here comes a Scout for Napalm, and I can't believe Napalm is going to make this mistake. He's going to fly, or actually it's not a mistake, never mind. Tech to flag's too slow to kill a Scout. We have 2 early Scouts for Napalm, which are going to spot any kind of engineers that are expanding. And that Bomber, it's going to be a payoff for going second air. So it's really getting this early factory up on the top ledge versus going second air. And I think Napalm here really needs to make it pay off with his Bomber. He's going to drop off a bomb, kill 1 expanding Engie. There's another engineer there that he really needs to get. Here comes another bomb, perhaps. Yep. Two very nice bombs for Napalm. He's also got these scouts and interceptors, so he's got total reconnaissance of what is going on, although this bomber here in a bit of danger against an interceptor versus Stork here. Coming up minute 4. 2 engineers on the power spam to get that 60 power that's going into that. You can see overall Napalm is at 220 power, and he's using about a quarter of that into producing more power. Of course, the ratio is going to go down lower and lower. Also, Napalm has got 2 factories on the top ledge, which is nice, and he's got artillery going to the middle, which will take out the Tech 1 point defenses, which will allow him to get to the civilians. And we can see both ACUs moving to the middle, anticipating this battle. Oh, and this could be nice. Oh, this bomber is a hero. 3 kills at the end there. So, very nice bombers from Napalm have denied a lot of the expansion, especially to the top expansion base, which is 7 mass extractors. 7 mass extractors is huge. 14 mass, and given you can see here 17 mass production for Stork. You could nearly double by getting the ones up on top. The flares here on the bottom did the right defense against the hunter. They're going to take out a scout. They're going to continue, and if Napalm can take out this engineer from Stork on the bottom, Stork will really be behind in terms of expansions. We're also seeing a nice group of Auroras plus some scouts building up, holding another choke point, and total air domination over the expansion of Stork. So early on in this map, 2 very important things: taking over the middle, which Napalm is doing, and denying the top expansion or the bottom expansion. And so far, Napalm is ahead in both of those categories. Let's see if that continues. We are seeing this power spam competition for these 2 players, which Stork is winning by 2 power generators. Appears he's got 3, actually 4 engineers on a power spam now. And he's really pulling away. And given that he's got about 20 mass in production besides the reclaim, that's about a 20-to-1 ratio. And a 20-to-1 ratio is very high. You can almost spam bombers non-stop. The ratio for the bombers, of course, if you want to do that, is 28. So not quite, but you can put more than half of your mass into bombers with this type of ratio. And here some of these Auroras get really deep. Take out a Mantis. Is going to take out a mass extractor. What they really want to take out is that engineer. And I think all these interceptors are going to get great recon for those Auroras, which are just going to go into the corner. Also, we see some flares, multiple kills now. 3 kills between those Auroras. They're just going to just try to be inconspicuous in the corner. Both ACUs get to the middle. That's a reclaim competition. And it looks like both ACUs do have artillery here. Napalm utilizing his arty to hit the Mass Stork's ACU. You can see he's losing health. Stork doing the exact same thing. And let's see here, minute 7. Stork has reclaimed 3,200. Napalm is at 3,200. Nearly identical. And Napalm also catching up with power, actually just surpassing Stork in terms of power, but dead even. The thing that Napalm does have is a lot more mass extractors, especially these 4 on the bottom here. Napalm continues to push. It's actually going kind of low on health there. This RT did damage both ACUs, about half health for both. But of course, Cybern do regenerate on the base level nearly twice as fast. Napalm getting rid of some walls so that he has better access. And this is a great force that's going to make all kinds of problems for Stork. So early on, we're seeing Stork just getting completely pulled apart. See these hidden units for both players. Although this is trouble. Now this is big trouble for Napalm. He's in danger of losing this entire, actually he's going to lose his entire expansion. A big group of Manta plus of artillery, and actually this engineer is already dead. So this early air domination for Napalm did give him good recon, but it appears that a little more land now for Stork, and he's about to take back the map. And this loss of expansion is going to be huge. What we saw there, Stork, he grabbed the mass in the middle, completely ran away then, right after that, and started pushing on the sides. And now Napalm is in a bit of trouble, I believe. Although now let's check out where all this mass has gone from Napalm. He still has a little bit in the bank, but he did get a couple Tech 2 mass extractors. He got 3 of them. Of course, upgrading the mass extractor the ratio for doing that is 6, so basically the same thing as using your mass to make Tech 1 tanks. It's not too power heavy. Of course, it is a long upgrade, and at the end of the day you need 5400 power to get a Tech 1 mass extractor to Tech 2. Actually, we've seen a really interesting competition here between these two players in terms of power. Looks like once again Napalm is pulling away, but not by much. It's only about a power generator difference. Maybe a little less now. Actually a little more, about 2 power generator difference. And that does dictate how quickly he can get upgrades. Napalm is actually getting an upgrade here in the middle. He's using 180 power, which not really sure what upgrade that would be. Surprised that that's it looks like, yeah, that's ACU Tech 2. If you see a Aeon ACU with minus 280 power, which is actually minus 300 because it's producing 20, that's one of the guns. But if it's 180, that's Tech 2. And that's really just because the ACU gun, you can get it quite a bit faster than the Tech 2. Now ACU has Tech 2 in the middle. Let's see what he does with that. Elsewhere he does have some issues, although he has solved his expansion problem with a nice Aurora Force. He is building up a big Aurora Force in the middle, which I think he might push forward. And Stork, still just a Tech 1 spam. On air, he's getting his second air factory, producing quite a few engineers. And one thing about making Tech 1 air, it's a question, do you want to build engineers to assist the factory, or you want to make more factories? The cost of 4 Tech 1 engineers in terms of mass is 208 mass. The cost of an air factory is 210 mass, so it's basically the same. And with an extra air factory, you have less flexibility with what you do with that build capacity, but it's a lot more difficult to kill. And of course then it gives you more flexibility that you can take one of those to Tech 2 without losing your air production. So it's really a favorite thing to do for some of the better players. They feel like it's an air competition, they start making more air factories, which is exactly what Stork is doing here. Quite different from what Napalm has been doing. A lot of build capacity on his Tech 1 air factory, and he's actually taking it to Tech 2. Going Tech 2 with Aeon always a good idea, so that's a very good move. He's going to get some Tech 2 engineering. He's going to have the Swiftwind. Swiftwind, perhaps the best anti-air weapon you can have in this game. It does have 200, costs 200 mass instead of 50 for a Tech 1 interceptor, but it's the ratio of power to mass is only 30 versus a Tech 1 interceptor. It is it's a 45. So if you don't want to overbuild your power too much, you can make the Swift ones, which are quite nice. Really, it's because Aeon got lucky that the Swiftwind was the only unit not really to get nerfed too much with that power cost nerf that hit Tech 1 interceptors in ASF. And I think Napalm is really in position to make progress here on the bottom. A much bigger force. He does have some issues up on top. He's got to be very careful. He did lose a couple of mass extractors. And actually Napalm, in terms of mass, you can see identical power here, 980. 990 now. But in terms of mass, Stork is running away slightly. Stork is pretty good at upgrading his eco on larger maps, and you can see he is at 5 Tech 2 mass extractors, while Napalm is only at 4, so 1 Tech 2 mass extractor ahead. But it also looks like some of these raiders from Stork really denied the expansions, and Stork does have these Tech 2 mass extractors, that Tech 1 mass extractors that Napalm doesn't. So there is a difference of 5 mass between these two players. And we're also saying Tech 2. Some deceivers here as well. Deceivers, you can see the strength of the deceiver. Actually, it looks like it's not really working because Stork has power problems, and the deceivers won't work unless you have power. You do take 25 power, which is a bit sad. Wanger's not getting in close. Napalm here with his Tech 2 ACU. He invested huge amounts of mass and power into this, and doesn't look like he did anything with it except make a Tech 2 radar, which is now going to be killed. So a bit disappointing there from Napalm. Although Napalm not making a huge gunship force. And I think he's going to call that in to help him in the middle. I don't know if that's really good to show his hand there. I wouldn't do that. I think those gunships would be good if he can find the ACU. Although it's sitting right next to Tech 2 land factory, so he can make Tech 2 flak very quickly. And this looks like a plan here. It looks like a drop is being planned by Stork here, minute 13. And now we see, yep, the gunships for Napalm are hard at work denying the top mass extractors. Mass extractors are always good. But although Tech 1s are going to be rebuilt very quickly if you don't pick up those engineers. And also Napalm here has just got a big Tech 1 interceptor spam. I don't understand why he's making Tech 1s when he can be making Tech 2. He's got plenty of power to do that. Looks like he's got a couple Tech 2 power generators. He needs to make Swift ones, which will allow him to keep air control, because in terms of total numbers, Stork does have the numbers in terms of Tech 1 interceptors. And in this case, when you have a big gunship force and you feel like you're going to lose air, I don't know if Napalm feels that way right now, what you got to do with the gunships, split them into 4 different groups and send them to completely different areas of the map, because more likely than not, your enemy is going to take their entire air force and send it after one of those groups. If you keep them in one bunch, you're likely just going to lose the big fight here, although the gunship's not going after Tech 2 mass extractors. Each gunship does cost, how much does it cost? I think it costs actually quite a bit. I've been making notes about these things. 240 mass. And losing 4 of those means you've lost more mass than the cost of that Tech 2 mass extractor. And although there was quite a bit of damage done by Napalm, but you can see this engineer, which wasn't killed, has now rebuilt all that damage. So it really wasn't significant. So I think that was a bit disappointing there from Napalm. And another thing that's disappointing is that there's this group of Manti from Stork that are creating all kinds of problems in this expansion. Actually, both players doing a good job denying each other's expansions. But let's see if this has any significant consequences. It doesn't look like Stork really was damaged by this at all. I don't think his mass is really an issue at all. And he has got a very nice Tech 2 land force, something that Napalm doesn't have, and Napalm has been run over. Napalm working on another Tech 2 Raider, which is a bit sad. You don't really need that to know that there's a big force coming towards you. Instead, Tech 1 mass extractors or Tech 1 point defenses in this situation would be the best thing to do. And actually, Tech 3 land, okay. Stork laughed about that attack against them. It was very inconsequential there. And has one Tech 3 land. And now he's running deep into Napalm's base. And although Tech 2 air from Aeon is quite nice, it is disappointing when you lose your air control and you lose all those gunships. I mean, Napalm had something like 20, or maybe not 20, but at least 10 of those gunships. It's 2,000 mass. Could have made a lot of very powerful units with those 2,000 mass, and he doesn't have them anymore. He is making more gunships. He's probably going to defend well here, which will create a nice reclamation field. We're about to see a big gunship or air fight. And the fact that I don't see swift ones from Napalm is just mind-boggling. I don't understand that choice. Swift one is so much more powerful. Also faster, easier to micro. And here comes Tech 3, the Loyalist with the first kill, first of many. The top is completely now controlled by Stork. Love to see Stork send some engineers in this position. He does have transports. Actually, a transport full of engineers in this position would bring him all kinds of joy. The bottom is also a big problem. You see a big Tech 1 force being led by the Loyalists. It'll be a pretty big fight, but I think this Loyalist might make up all kinds of problems for Napalm. Napalm will attempt to kite. In the middle, it appears that still problems for Napalm in terms of air control. He is making gunships. So much build capacity on this air factory, which looks really nice. And he's got so much excess power, I think you can put even more build capacity on it. And I mean, this is the unit, 200 mass, 800 health. And this is 50 mass, 285 health, but much faster and much more damage on this unit. And now this is going to be a victory. 9 kills already on that Loyalist. This group of Aurora is a bit lost. And now there is a lot of Tech 3 now on the field. The Loyalists, we're seeing that Stork isn't switching to the brick yet. There's no reason for him to do that because there are no Harbies on the field. As soon as you see Harbies from AM, that's when you got to start making bricks. This factory is now not going to make a Tech 3. Big loss in terms of mass for Napalm, and all things are going wrong for Napalm now. It's a bit sad to see Aeon get crushed like this. Unfortunate, and that's what happens when you fail in an attack and the other player has a different strategy going. And here we're going to see these Loyalists through the middle. Really nothing opposing them. I think Napalm here is going to do have to have some good overcharges. Otherwise he might just die here. I think he just might die. There's one overcharge. 26 kills. Another overcharge, and I think he might survive here. And this group of Aurora is actually doing quite well. I think Stork may have kind of forgotten about him, and they can do some pretty good damage. Tech 2 Mask Extractor, TMD. Meanwhile, this Loyalist here, 20 kills, leading his charge. A couple Loyalists make it. And another factory trying to go Tech 2. So Napalm here cut a Tech 1 land against Tech 3. And really Auroras are pretty good. Actually, Auroras might get a kill there. That Loyalist was not microed. 10 kills on this Loyalist. Emergency point defense. And this Loyalist gets deep into the base. One of them actually did. It's going to take out Tech 2 Mask Extractors. Looks like air control may be finally taken by Napalm. And the lack of Tech to Flag from Stork is a bit disappointing. It's one unit he could have made in a 1-to-1 ratio together with his Loyalists, and if he really doesn't want to hold up this factory for making Tech 3, he might as well just take another factory Tech 2. It's got quite a bit of build capacity on this factory, might as well do it there. And now gunships versus Loyalists. Loyalists killing off Tech 1 power, not that big a deal. Are we going to see Tech 3 land? Yeah, we're going to see Tech 3 land here from Napalm. Good choice in the factory, and all these can be making engineers. Yeah, that's a lot of build capacity. It's going to be focused in this area. Nice to see a factory attack move right there. And then whenever they're idle, you just select them all and have them assist an engineer that's assisting the factory. And that way they're really nice. They don't try to move around, and then you have a nice pathway for your Harbies to come out. These Harbies are going to have a lot of work to do. Looking at Napalm's eco, he's only about 51 mass. He's got a huge mass deficit. He's reclaimed 16,000. Stork has plenty of mass. He's reclaimed 21,000, so 5,000 more. He does not have air control. That's really his only problem. And that's actually creating all kinds of problems. Napalm is in position to reclaim quite a few Tech 3 wrecks. And once he starts getting Harbies in the field, he might be able to regain map control. Of course, in this position, the easiest thing for Stork would be to just build more eco. And I think that's one of the things he's going to do. More Tech to power. We are seeing Stork pulling away with power, which means he is in a position to make a lot more air. Especially if he decides to go Tech 3. Of course, on a map like this where you got to go through one of these choke points on land, some Tech to Flak will be quite easy to protect your forces with. Yeah, I think what we saw so far in this game is that Tech to Air is not that powerful. Maybe if Napalm would have gone against a couple of these Tech 2 Pigeons, might have worked out a little better for him. But just attacking Tech 1 mask structures, which were quickly rebuilt, I don't think he got his mass back. And this is now a huge force. Still just Loyalists, and Stork not attacking. I think if he would attack with that force right now, he'd create all kinds of problems, except for this group of gunships, and still no tech to flak from Stork. Stork beginning to attack on the other side with just Tech 1, but we got Harbies on the field. These should be able to hold this bottom choke point. They're all seeing engineers on the field. And in this position, if you're Napalm, really the most important thing is not to panic and to get back your mask extractors. If you don't get back your mask extractors, you're going to be in trouble. You do have some advantages, which is the reclaim that you have, and you have air control, which might actually be challenged here. This might actually go down to micro. Napalm needs to pay attention and kill off these interceptors. It would take a mistake here from Stork, but Napalm definitely not out of this game. Harby's making some progress on the bottom. There is a brick now. And of course, as soon as you see bricks, although 2v1, 3v1, Harbies can take on bricks, they just got to get really close. If you see a brick, that's like the opposite of Aurora versus Mantis. You can't let the brick kite you. You got to rush in against that unit. One thing you don't want to do is just stand there outside the range, because that will be very sad, and that's exactly what's happening here. Although the brick making a mistake getting a little too close. Actually, this Harby getting hit by Artie. Not the way to use the brick, the Harby. Sorry. Once again, we see total air control from Napalm, and he's taking out the Tech 1 mask ejectors. Although now finally some Tech 2 flak. And please don't tell me that this is going to happen. Yeah, the Harbies need to either run away or rush in. More Harbies coming out. Big Harby Sam from Napalm. But I think at this point mass is going to be his limiting. Actually, you know, mass is pretty good. He has reclaimed nearly 10,000 mass in the last couple of minutes, and that really is his advantage. The thing that he does not want to do is lose one of these choke points. He continues to dominate air, and actually Napalm here coming back, I believe. He's got a lot more Tech 1 mask extractors. Got a nice group of Tech 1 taking over the top, and it's a bit disappointing from Stork. I think he could have did a lot more damage here on the top if he would have moved his force with some Tech to flak and get some engineers, grabbed all that reclaim up on top. But on the bottom here is where the brick is going to rush in a little too close, and now these Harbies will run through. Not too much excess power for a Napalm, but he might consider a couple shields. Very cheap, 144 power. That's all you, 144 mass that you need for a Tech 2 shield. And it provides you with nearly 4,000 health for quite a few units. Might as well put them in. And one thing that is happening, there's a traffic jam. If you see a traffic jam like this, you take the ones, the engineers that are around the traffic jam, you give them a move order to the other side of the factory, and then you give them an assist command on some engineer, which is assistant factory. And it looks like Napalm here switched to just assisting, taking all these engineers and assisting the factory. And of course, what they do then, instead of staying where they are, they're trying to move around and spread out as evenly around the factory as possible, which is not at all what you want them to do. Here I'd love to see a couple of these Auroras move down, deny these Tech 2, Tech 1 mask extractors, which is significant, denying those. That's plus 4 mass per second. Which means in 3 minutes, that's enough to buy a Harby. And here we got a fight, Loyalists versus Harbies. And I think there might be some numbers there. I think we'd love to have the Loyalists pull back and focus fire on the Loyalists. Instead, I think the Harbies are standing still, and you'd never want to do that. Some gunships in the area as well, but I think it's just... I actually think this is going to be Manti killing off Harbies. And I think a micro mistake there from Napalm. He was in a very good position to stop this force if he would have focused fired on the Loyalists. Could have killed those, and then could have retreated against the Manti and killed them off. I think he's still going to stop it because he's got plenty of Harbies. Actually, a lot of Harbies which are trapped here. It'd be really nice to have them in the field. And this looks like a drop from Stork. Will it be successful? This would have been a great thing to shoot down. Did not happen. Multiple bricks in the base. That absolutely sucks to have that happen to you, especially right next to all your Tech 2 power. And what you do in this case is not gunships, it's mercies. You gotta switch to Mercies. 3,000 damage. Takes 3 Mercies to kill a brick, but that's what you gotta do. A gunship takes forever to kill a brick. But now we're gonna see the power of napalm is gonna go down, which will probably eventually lead to air control for Stork. And this is terrible now. You can see how long. I mean, the brick just doesn't care that there's gunships over it. Where are the Mercies? The Harbies are on the case. Harbies will solve this issue. And I think these bricks really need to kill this power. If this power dies, then napalm is back at 500 power. And with 500 power, there's not much you can do. A missed opportunity there for Stork, although that was a great piece of attack. There was a radar there, which didn't work out for napalm. Really should have paid attention and shot those down. And this is where Swift Winds are so nice. Swift Winds are faster than Tech 2 transports, which is what was used to transport that. And they're so much faster and so much better to get on the case, and they do a lot more damage. And yeah, that's one unit that napalm is not utilizing. I don't think napalm plays too much Aeon, so it's a bit excusable for him, but really that unit could have really helped him, because he does have that. He did have that radar until it was just killed. That was a big setback because he was making such great progress here on the bottom. And Engineers following up, which is always good. Napalm now with 29,000 reclaim, but you can see this is not what you want happening to your eco. That sucks. That's very demoralizing. Unlike Stork here, minute 30, has huge excess of power. Still doesn't have any power storage, which is disappointing. And with this much power, I mean, he does have Tech 2 air, and he's just making all this air, no problem. So with this power, he's got a lot of things that he can do. Really not an issue for him. May even consider reclaiming a couple of Tech 1 Pigeons, turning them back into mass. And this is a very nice Tech 2 Raider. Would be a great target for a Tech 1 bomber. Raiders, of course, are all very weak. Single bombs from anything will kill them. And here we see from Stork's viewpoint an assault from napalm through both choke points. And here it looks like these bricks are they're not being targeted at the same time, but the sheer numbers from napalm here on the bottom have won. We're also seeing Tech 3 Engineers, a nice brick force. More bricks. Would love to see more build capacity here for Stork. Really got to clear out that area around your Tech 3 factory to be able to produce. It's those logistics which are so critical in any kind of warfare. How to produce your units and how to get them on the battlefield as fast as possible. Because time is really the most important resource in any kind of conflict. And this is what bricks got to do. They got to kite. Be very effective, although not fast enough. A lot of reclamation here. And this is where having a Tech 1 transports on a ferry route somewhere in the middle of the map, ready to stand by. You just take that ferry route, hold shift, move it over to a reclamation field, and put a few NGs on there, and then come back to this place. In 30 seconds you're gonna have a few NGs there, and that transport ready to do more good work to a different place. Something people should always do. Napalm now very quick to rebuild his power, which is nice. Yeah, napalm with huge reclamation now. He's at 35,000. He's got so much power, so much mass. He's recovered quite well. Stork here defending with the bricks. Harby's just running in. Harby's being very impressive. And napalm here, I don't understand how he thinks he's in a position to run Stork over. He's just rushing in. I mean, is he betting that Stork is just upgrading his mass extractors, which Stork was? And actually, this might be a pretty good bet. I'd love to see these Harbies rush in here and deny everything up on top. And napalm finally gets some sense and retreats. I think aggression is good, but you never want to take a good position and lose it. And I think here in minute 31 we completely saw a huge turnaround. This is not at all what I expected. And this could be that Stork did not use his advantage well enough. And if napalm in this position uses engineers, he still has so much reclaim. You can see napalm has no more mass problems. He needs more power. He desperately needs more power. He needs to get rid of these engineers which are just blocking all these Harbies. Please do that. And it's such a great Harvey force. This is making a case for Harvey's being so much more powerful, but I think it's really the fact that Stork has so much less build capacity and he's not really putting nearly as much into his Tech 3 factory, so these bricks really getting outnumbered. Single Great Mantis is just going to be huge. Great engineers though for Napalm. Another good force in the middle getting built up. Napalm needs to make more power. And this Tech 3 power, which is always good, one Tech 3 power generator produces as much power as 5 Tech 2 power generators, but costs about the same as 3 Tech 2 power generators, actually a little less than 3. Yeah, it costs 32,140. So basically 3,000 to 240 mass. And I really am surprised here by this turnaround. It's still Stork is still in very good position. He's got bricks, he's got shields. He's not going to lose his main base, which has very good looking units. He's got 3 Tech 3 mass extractors. He nearly has Tech 3 power, but he does not have map control. The question is, yeah, I think this attack here from Napalm is absolutely crazy. If he loses this, he leaves so much wreckage. But this force right here is nice. If he can go around and make these bricks, you just gotta get out of the range. Don't be getting shot for no reason. And yeah, use this. This is great. Take what's given to you, and that's exactly what Napalm is doing here. He is pulling Stork into different directions. And while this is happening, while this battle is happening, you got to grab the map with your engineers. Big scouting coming in. Yes, this is so good. I love my Aeon, and I love the way Napalm's playing here right now. Although, no, they should have gone to the corner and waited until they had a chance to attack. Instead, they just left a bunch of wrecks. And here, I think the TMD is gone. This would be in great position to have some cruise missiles and snipe this power. This is really the main thing that Stork has, all this power, and together with those reclaim, using this build capacity, he can make a very good looking force. Actually, he can go for a spider very quickly. So not having those top 7 Tech 1 mass extractors is not a big deal when you have huge chunks of mass. But if Napalm was to drop something off right here, and he's going to do that, he's going to attempt to drop off 2 Harveys, but they got to do it fast. And both of these players, you can see how powerful drops are. Players don't pay attention, but why? No. What the drops are only as good if you don't fly them directly into a cloud of interceptors. So Napalm absolutely in control of this game, feeding Stork mass. Stork just playing good defense here with these bricks. No problems. Just cut up those Harveys like they were nothing, and now this is just... These flares should be, or those Aurora should be on top. Getting rid of these engineers, which are getting a bunch of free mass, which they shouldn't have. And here we can see reclamation 31,000, which is going to go through the roof here from 36 minutes in the next 5 minutes. That's probably going to be 50. Napalm here at 46,000, probably used up quite a bit of his reclaim. He still has quite a bit. He needs to go to the top, take over the top. He's got the bottom. And there's also a lot of reclamation here, which this engineer needs to get. And upgrading these mass extractors does not make sense for Napalm, given that he's got huge deficit. So some strange decisions there for Napalm. I think both players have made some strange decisions. And another transport. Oh, this is artillery. Where is this artillery going? This artillery up on this hill would be brilliant. Not down here, but up on the hill, because it has the range to do it. Instead, here they're going to die very quickly. Only with 2 Harveys in... oh no. And these Arties would have been so awesome to hit all that build capacity. But 2 Harveys are not going to be able to defend. Unfortunate. Good idea though. One thing that Napalm has is an ACU, which is out in the middle of nowhere. More artillery here. And I think in this situation, given how much mass Napalm has, he could... no, 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 no. Don't. That's 1,600 mass on a transport flying next to a cloud of interceptors. I don't know what the fuck. It's like, jeez. All right, I shouldn't worry about these things too much. But here we're seeing these engineers grabbing a lot of free mass. A lot of free mass. Stork 40,000, 6,000 in the bank. Such a great position for Napalm that he no longer has. He has lost the land battle. He now has a bunch of flak in the middle. And finally, Swift Winds. Took so long to get Swift Winds, but we see more power for Napalm and Stork now. Huge power advantage. And once you get this much power, we're going to see ASF eventually for Stork, and he'll dominate air. But he's already dominating. Although now this is going to be good. These are some of the deadliest flaks you'll ever see. Yes, that was absolutely brutal. It was good looking stuff there from Napalm. 26 kills for the best flak, and actually they're gonna go in for more. Although these bricks now, hero bricks here from Stork. We're gonna take care of that situation. Those Tech 2 mask structures did not pay for themselves. Great gunships. Great gunships for... And now these are ores. This is nice. They need to spread out, deny the top. And this engine here needs to do some capturing. It looks like Napalm did a lot of upgrading in terms of mass, but he is behind on power, which will probably mean that, yeah, Tech 3 Air, ASF now for Stork, and of course Tech 3 Air opens up the door for the Whalers, Tech 3 gunships. You're gonna absolutely rape Harbies unless they get some shields and flak. Shields, of course, cost power, and power is something Napalm does not have. And Tech 3 bombers, and a couple Tech 3 bombers will put this position out of commission. So Napalm is extremely vulnerable now. Another group of Harbies. This is now like 2v1 bricks versus Harbies. No reason to send them in like that. I mean, yeah. Once again, we're seeing do not feed your enemy as one of the fundamental rules in this game. Realize when you gotta attack, when we don't. And don't attack the most defended position of your enemy. Here comes the Spider, minute 40 from Stork. And the Spider together with these bricks could take on a GC. Although these Harbies could shift that battle. Tech 3 power and a GC started for Napalm. This has been empty for a very long time for Napalm. He's been busy doing other things, and looks like finally Tech 3 power should make Napalm a little more competitive. And of course the time for these drops is over. Napalm, is he gonna learn? Nope, he did not learn the lesson. Don't drop him there, drop him up on top here. Artie has plenty. Oh no, he did. I think that may have been an accident, but this Artie here has a chance to do a lot of damage. See how long it takes Stork to realize there's something shooting at him. And let's see how much damage that does. From 840 to 7,000, 1,500 damage. But here's a gunship on the case, which is going to deny that Artie very easily. The time of air control is gone for Napalm. Of course, that already would have been most effective, dropping something up on this Tech 3 Air Factories. Here's ASF. Yeah. Also Tech 3 Radar, possibly. And here comes the Spider for Stork. Here, minute 41. So I can't really blame Napalm for too much. I lost against Stork as well. I did stupid things. We all do stupid things, but quite a few errors. And I think Stork kind of gave the game away to Napalm, and he just decided to give it back in terms of Rex. Instead of those Harpies maybe went to the corner, stayed here, had the bricks come out into different directions. The Harpies could have stayed here, killed these Tech 3 Mask Extractors, dropped some Arty here, and Napalm was almost doing that. And then just shell this entire region. And just let Stork sit in his base while you have total map control. And then build up a whole bunch of Swiftwinds, deny air. Big scout from Napalm. They're going to fly over the Spider. Napalm is going to realize he's screwed. Here we can see Stork. What's his reclamation now? 58,000. He got nearly 30,000 after that attack by Napalm. And there's still so much left. Each one of these 840 mass. GC is nearly complete for Napalm, so you will be able to fight off that Spider. He has paused absolutely everything else. Napalm quite naked here, not a shield in sight, which means Tech 3 air from Stork can do whatever it wants. A lot of Tech 2 Mask Extractors here for Napalm, not very well defended. And in that argument, do you make a lot of Tech 2 Mask Extractors, or do you make a single Tech 3 Mask Extractor on a map like Certus, where gunships are so powerful against the expansion? It's definitely a Tech 3 Mask Extractor in your main base is much better than Tech 2 Mask Extractors in the field, where they're so much more vulnerable. But it doesn't look like Stork is doing that. He doesn't care. And now this right here, bricks plus a Spider, going to go through the middle. We do see Harpies assembling in the middle, plus a GC. Here, Napalm needs to come back as far as possible and make shields. Shields is what Aeon have an advantage in against Cybern. If you play Cybern without shields, they got the brick, which will beat you. ASF now in the area. That's going to be very demoralizing for Napalm. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see Strat Bombers here shortly. Although Tech 3 radar here, using quite a bit of power. We're also seeing breaks going on around the side. Tech 2 Mask Extractors against... and this will be a critical battle. If something good can happen here for Napalm, he might have a chance, because this will relieve a lot of reclamation. And here, Mercies would be the most ideal thing to make, given the air control that somehow Napalm has. That was a big mistake from Stork. He just gave that Spider away. It was just Spider versus this big force, and now the GC is going to absolutely demolish the bricks. I don't understand what Stork was doing. He must have not scouted. A huge victory for Napalm, but please, Napalm, don't throw away this victory by taking your half-health GC and turn it into a wreck in Stork's base, who is about to get a Spider. And of course, Stork, with so much power, he can turn mass into a Spider very quickly. Although we're seeing here, and if you're wondering, the ratio on experimental is about 12. So it's very similar to Tech 3 land, but cheaper than most upgrades. And yeah, now we've seen Tech 3 air from Napalm as well, who is sitting on a couple of Tech 3 power generators. And Stork here running away, but of course this has been a successful piece of defense for Stork in the past. GC coming in, and I actually think a GC versus that many bricks here might not be able to survive. And a Strat Bomber. Yeah, this is going to be another great gift for Napalm, or for Stork from Napalm. Napalm is in a very giving mood this entire game. This will be a single package. An air fight that Stork is going to take. And actually Napalm finally has more power than Stork. And the unit that we haven't seen for Napalm now, the 2 units, Mercies, or actually 3 Swiftwinds, which are now obsolete. Shields and Mercies, which have been very powerful in this battle, although were not needed. So both players trading mistakes. Oh, this is such a great gift for Stork. Stork needs to just thank Napalm after this game. Thank you for the mass. Imagine Stork's probably going to go over 100 or 1,000 reclaim here. He's already at 67,000. Napalm at 54,000. And this mass extractor is still not built. I don't understand. Oh yeah, this is good. So this can be, these engineers are going to get to the middle. They're going to grab that mass quick. We're going to see another GC complete. So Napalm will stay alive for a little while. But if we saw some Strat Bombers, and we're seeing more, those Strat Bombers are going to make life very difficult. The build capacity of Napalm not shielded, his Tech 3 power is. And a couple Strat Bombs here from Cybern, huge splash. And it doesn't matter how much power or mass you have, if you don't got the NGs to turn that mass and power into something that can shoot, you're gonna die. You really gotta protect your build capacity. Yeah, these engineers getting that mass. I hope they get that mass. 65,000. Reclamation, Stork, 81,000, and actually wasting a bunch of mass. Probably turn that into a couple more Tech 3 power generators. He did. He's now at 11,000 power. Spider running through the middle. You see halfway done. Harbies, and looks like a Tech 3 radar planned for Napalm. Some ASF for Napalm as well. I'm still waiting for that assault from Stork, and this is what we've been seeing. Quite a few pretty high level games. Players not choosing to do raiding in these quiet periods, or just in general. This is so exposed. And Stork must know about this. I mean, at least he has it on radar. He hasn't really scouted it. He could really utilize his Tech 3 gunships, which he's had. He must feel like he does not have Tech 3 air control. And here in the middle, a couple bricks wandering in. I think they're going to try to deny the reclamation, which they were a little late at doing. The engineers already did their job. Going to leave a couple more wrecks. Spider walking in. He's going to try to suck in these Harbies. These Harbies needs to run away from the Spider. No reason to feed them. Harbies are not being pulled back, and they're going to get slaughtered. GC nearly complete for Napalm here, minute 49. More Tech 3 power. Stork has so much mass, he does not know what to do with it all. But with that much power, he's going to have a lot of Strat Bombers. Good position on this Harby, although it needs to take care of that issue. Now Spider in the middle will deny any kind of reclamation. Each one of these, 1200 mass. A lot of mass in the middle. And here come the gunships. They're going to go on a raid. And of course, doing those raids, you might think that that's costing you concentration. It's going to cost your enemy even more concentration. And it's going to... and the reason for that is that you're being the initiator, so you get to choose when and how it happens. And of course, the enemy will be losing units. They'll be the ones defending, and it's demoralizing. And of course, it also causes the enemy to pull out the ASF, which is exactly what's happening here, which can get you to get an air fight outside of the enemy's base, which actually doesn't really matter because Napalm has no anti-air in his base. So that means he's going to lose the air fight over his own base, which will give total recon to Stork, who for whatever reason flew away. I do not understand that. But now two Spiders in the middle, and also an engineer from Stork. He's going to get a lot of really nice juicy reclaims, although it doesn't need to travel too much because plenty of reclaims still at his base. So GC walking in their own direction. Of course, these are stealthy. But Napalm has the Omni. Here you can see the Omni radius. Those Spiders are on the radar. But of course, Napalm might not know that those are Spiders. And Napalm might be walking into his doom here. He needs to scout, realize that his GC is outgunned, and if he loses that GC, he will lose the game. Although, as for much of this game, Stork has had these periods where he's in complete control and able to end it, but he's not doing it. And here we can see here Stork not making the mistake that Napalm is doing, of rushing in. He's pulling back. He's going to fight where he wants to have this fight. He's not just going to send his ACU into the enemy base. I mean, actually, if this GC, yeah, that GC is going to pull back. Good choice from Napalm. And I can't believe these 7 Tech 2 mass extractors, which is 42 mass per second. I mean, that's pretty ridiculous. Every 30 seconds, you get more than 1,000 mass from this position, which has been absolutely undefended except for that engineer. And this Harvey, actually, that was 6 kills. A couple Strat bombers, go ahead and kill it. But it's almost as if Stork feels like he's in a better position or something. Although now, looking at the eco, more production for Napalm. Napalm has invested quite heavily in Tech 3 mass extractors. And he's got a lot of power, although Stork has more. And this could be nice. This is nice from Napalm. This Tech 3 stage, always good to drop off Tech 3 units. Actually, we saw both players do it. Stork, of course, successfully, which I think could have ended the game if he would have killed off that last power generator. Stork, unsuccessfully by flying his very expensive units into clouds of interceptors. And here, so tragic. Is that going to die? Yes, that's very important for Napalm. One Spider is still alive. The GC has just been started. This is not enough. But, yeah, Mercies. The way to use the Mercies, though, is to save them. And then to send scouts ahead and patrol. If you send one Mercy at a time, there's enough anti-air. And this is a great Harvey. He's going to deny all those Tech 1s. Yeah, you can't do that. And the Spider is just going to walk in. And it almost seems that Napalm is going to lose to Stork in this Aeon versus Cybern battle. The exact same positions to the exact same unit. The Spider has been called a weak experimental, but games like this, it's a very nice addition to the bricks. Unfortunate there that this GC wasn't back here fighting. Could have done a much better job. Napalm now running away. There goes the build capacity. There goes the Tech 3, the land factory, and this game is effectively over. No chance. Stork could have ended though. Yeah, how did I not win this? Yes, there's many reasons which I think people can tell. Napalm. And there goes Napalm. Good game. Some great decisions and not such good ones. But hopefully people enjoyed this one.